Bonjour French 1. This video is all about those subject pronouns again, but this time we're going to be contrasting them with verbs and also actually putting them to use in a sentence and giving you some examples of that. So first things first, sentences in English, since we might as well start with the language that we typically use in class before we started to learn French. English sentences usually have a subject and a verb. You guys have probably learned that a subject is the person or thing that the whole sentence is about, and the verb is the action word that is describing what that person or subject is doing. Don't forget though, besides being an action like jump or sing, a verb can also be linking words like is or are or am. So be careful, those sometimes throw people off. So what we have here are two sentences that have a subject and a verb. In this first sentence, Denise sings well. Denise is our subject because that's the sentence that's the person that the whole sentence is about. And what is she doing? The action word in this sentence is the verb sings. The next sentence with Simon is blonde. Here they're still showing you a subject as being Simon because that's who the whole subject or the whole sentence is about rather. But the thing that's strange about this is that the verb is not an action word. It's one of those linking words. The word is. It's linking Simon to the describing word of blonde. But what is Simon? Simon is being something. So that is a verb in this sentence. French sentences also have a subject and a verb. And these are actually the exact same sentences again. Denise is still the subject of this sentence of Denise chante bien. Chante means sings, so Denise is your subject and chante is your verb. And then same thing here, this is still Simon is blonde. In French it's pronounced Simon est blond. Again though, Simon is still the subject, he is still the thing that the whole sentence is about, and in this case the linking word is your verb. Again, I don't expect you to be able to read those right off the bat, but start getting familiar with the format of a sentence and knowing that it typically goes subject-verb. So keeping that in mind, one of the things that happens with subjects is sometimes those subjects or the nouns in a sentence can be replaced by a pronoun, and you do this naturally in English all the time. You take something as simple as Denise is a friend, and then instead of saying Denise again and saying Denise is 15 years old, you know that you can use the subject pronoun she instead of the word Denise to make your sentence less repetitive and instead say she is 15 years old. This subject pronoun she can be used instead of the female here, Denise. Same thing can happen in French and will happen in French. Instead of saying Denise est une amie and then repeating Denise a 15 ans to say that Denise is a friend and Denise is 15 years old, we can, instead of using Denise again, use the French subject pronoun for she, which is elle. Again, this is something you do all the time in the English language. You just need to get used to the new subject pronouns and memorizing what they mean so that you can also do them in the French language. Let's go ahead and try that real quick. So first things first, if you have a sentence such as Julie est une amie, Julie is a friend, if you wanted to replace Julie with something else, you need to look at your subject pronoun list and think about what Julie is like. Julie is basically a female, and when you talk about a female, then you use the word she, and the French word for she is elle. So instead of saying Julie est une amie, you can say elle est une amie. For the second one, Luc et moi sommes amis. That means Luke and me are friends. In English we would say Luke and I to be grammatically correct. If you don't want to repeat Luke and me, then you can instead use a subject pronoun. So think about what's going on here with Luke and me. If it's me and Luke, we have more than one person, so that's a group of people, and it involves me. I'm included in that group, so I need to use the word we. Think about it in English. Me and Luke are friends, we are friends, and that French word for we is nous. So you can see when I wrote my sentence, I wrote nous sommes les amis. Finally, with Pierre and Paul are friends is what this sentence says, but instead of saying Pierre and Paul are friends, we could use a subject pronoun. Think about what's going on with Pierre and Paul. Pierre and Paul are both boys. Because they are both boys, you are describing a group of boys, and the way you would describe a group of boys using a French pronoun is by using the word ils. Now when you look back at your chart, you'll remember that ils means they, and it totally makes sense in English. Pierre and Paul are friends, they are friends, and it makes a lot of sense. But you also need to know how to convert that over to French and know that they, for two boys, such as Pierre and Paul, are ils, to form the sentence ils sont les amis.